Yuki Kawamura has found another NBA opportunity. He will play for the Pacers in this year's Summer League, once again chasing a two-way contract. But this time, the window is almost closed. Before we even realized it, Yuki is about to enter his third year on the NBA fringe. At only 5'7", how has he managed to keep sticking around the best basketball league in the world? Before the start of last season, the Bulls announced that they had waived Yuki Kawamura, the Japanese guard. After he was diagnosed with a blood clot in his lower right leg, he ultimately could not escape being let go. For days after being waived, while other fringe players might have been packing their bags and calling their agents to look for the next stop, Yuki showed up at the Bulls' practice facility, as if that waiver notice had never existed. His injured leg had not fully recovered yet, but it did not stop him from completing those basic drills. For most waived players, staying around the facility like that would have been unusual, but security did not stop him. The coaching staff silently allowed him to stay. Even Bulls head coach Billy Donovan publicly said that Yuki had a positive impact on the team's culture. He chose to stay in Chicago and pay for his own rehab training. He would also appear in the stands at Bulls home games, quietly observing the action. Sometimes, he even stayed near the locker room area, trying to pick up whatever details he could. That almost obsessive persistence reminds people of the moment he first came to the States. In 2024, he made a decision that shocked Japanese basketball. He gave up a max contract in Japan's B-League. He gave up his star status under the spotlight. He even temporarily set aside his personal life and came to the United States alone. There were not many personal items in his suitcase, just a few simple pieces of clothing. The rest of the space was packed with basketball gear. In his backpack, he always carried 2 English books filled with notes. It was not that Yuki could not afford a translator. He simply believed that only by trying to speak English himself could he improve faster. From the moment he arrived in the States, Yuki began doing interviews in English on his own. Whenever he heard unfamiliar words during conversations, he wrote them down in his notebook. As long as he had time, Yuki would take out those heavily annotated English books and review them. Even when chatting with friends, he tried to communicate entirely in English. During his time with the Grizzlies, Yuki even brought Ja Morant his favorite Japanese gummies. But there was one condition: Ja had to teach Yuki English, because Yuki knew very clearly that if he wanted to play well in the NBA, he first had to learn English well. Only by understanding the coach's tactical instructions and communicating with teammates could he integrate into a team faster. To adapt to NBA physicality, he worked with a nutritionist to create his own diet plan. There was no entourage around him, no language safety net. He entered the highest level of world basketball with almost monk-like discipline. In his first season with the Memphis Grizzlies, he earned a precious two-way contract through flashes of brilliance and relentless effort in the preseason. Although he received only 22 scattered appearances during the regular season, he treasured every second. With tireless running and precise passing, he tried to leave his mark among giants. Grizzlies star Ja Morant became one of his biggest supporters. Not only did Ja pull Yuki into the frame during a post-game interview, he also cheered for him loudly on social media. Inside the practice facility, the smallest figure in the room was always the last to leave. He would take hundreds of extra shots, and with his optimistic smile and hard work, he kept breaking down barriers and bias. On his very first day of training with the Grizzlies, Yuki was already challenged. On the defensive end, because of his physical disadvantages, he was always the target opponents deliberately attacked. But after every team practice, Yuki stayed behind alone. He kept working on every detail of his offense and sharpening his defensive footwork. The Grizzlies head coach even said directly that Yuki was the hardest working player on the team at the time. Especially after every practice, Yuki would study recipes, buy groceries, and cook for himself. After blocking out every outside distraction, he put all of his energy into adapting to the NBA. On social media, the conversation around Yuki was not about dinners out or being accompanied by a girlfriend. More often, it was footage of him training alone inside the gym. Although the Grizzlies chose not to re-sign him after the 2024-25 season, Yuki still stayed in the United States for special training after being let go. Hopes seemed to reignite during the 2025 Summer League. Wearing a Bulls jersey, Yuki averaged 10.2 points and 6.2 assists. From beyond the three-point line, his shots came in bunches. That performance earned him the second two-way contract of his NBA career. Just when the dream seemed within reach, fate hit him again. A medical issue in his lower right leg later turned out to be a blood clot. The recovery process kept him out for months. A two-way player who needed long-term rehab became a difficult roster decision. The Bulls front office had no choice but to make a decision. They waived him again. But this time, Yuki chose to stay anyway. He kept showing up around the Bulls. Even when standing near the locker room entrance, Yuki still tried to absorb whatever tactical details he could. Without a formal contract, Yuki could only often appear in the stands and the player tunnel to watch games. But even then, he never thought about giving up. On January 6, 2026, his persistence finally paid off. The Bulls' guard rotation was hit by an injury crisis. Josh Giddey strained his left hamstring and was ruled out for at least 2 weeks. Kobe White injured his calf and was set to miss a week. Yuki received another two-way contract. After hearing the news, he wrote on social media, "Thank you to the Bulls for giving me another opportunity. I'm very excited to be back." No exaggerated celebration, no emotional declaration. Just like always, he calmly accepted what fate had arranged, and then went right back into training. From being waived to returning to the NBA, more than 2 months of persistence showed Yuki's toughness. In a league filled with talent, Yuki does not have elite vertical pop. He does not have an impressive wingspan, but inside his heart lives a giant who refuses to lose. During his time with the Bulls, Yuki averaged 11.6 minutes per game. He put up 3.4 points, nearly 2 rebounds, and 2.6 assists. Compared with his previous season with the Grizzlies, both his playing time and his numbers improved significantly. On an NBA court, he showed steady growth, but under NBA rules, players can only sign two-way contracts with 3 or fewer years of NBA service, and a two-way contract has never been a long-term NBA lifeline. Yuki has already spent 1 year each with the Grizzlies and the Bulls. He has only one final season of two-way eligibility left. Even if the Pacers give him another two-way contract, if he cannot be converted later, that will be his final chance to stay in the NBA. 2 two-way contracts, 2 years on the edge of the NBA, countless days and nights sweating through the G League. Yuki's story is inspiring enough and moving enough, but reality is cruel. The NBA will not give you a guaranteed contract just because your story is touching. No matter where Yuki goes in the future, he has already proved one thing. A 5'7" Asian guard once stood on the highest basketball stage in the world.